Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be creating with the Snow Buddy stamp set as well as the classic snow globe, and we're going to create a shaker snow globe scene card. So I have one already created here on screen. You can see I have that snow globe right in the middle, and then I have the scene on both the inside of the snow globe as well as on the outside. So I thought it would be fun to recreate this card in today's video, but kind of mix it up and actually put the girl and the dog inside the snow globe and let the snowman be on the outside for once. I thought it would be a fun take on this card, and it would be able to show you how I created this from start to finish. So to start off, I have a white cardstock panel that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I also have all of our images already stamped, colored, and die cut. I just wanted to save a little bit of time in the video to show you how I created the card, so I did all of the coloring off screen. You can color these images with anything that you feel comfortable coloring with. You can use Copic markers, colored pencils, anything that you prefer for your coloring, and then you're just going to want to die cut all of the images. And this card design isn't limited to this stamp set. You could use any type of winter scene stamp set that you have on hand. And here's a look at the classic snow globe dynamics. This also comes with a snowman die that you can use on the inside, but we're just going to be using the basic shape of the snow globe. So I'll just get this centered onto the panel, and I'm making sure to put it high enough up so I have room for the base of the snow globe to go down below it. I'm going to add a little piece of tape there on it so it doesn't move while I'm die cutting it, and I'll run it through my die cutting machine. And that's going to leave us with this window opening on the front of the panel that's perfectly going to fit the classic snow globe shaker pouch. So I'm going to go ahead and add that on here now since I already have the panel out. I'm using 1/8 inch score tape, which is my preferred method for adhering the shaker pouches. You can definitely use liquid adhesive or any other type of adhesive. I just really like this because it's really strong and it's sized perfectly to fit the little lip area on the outside of the shaker pouch. So once I had the score tape all the way around, I removed the adhesive backing, and I'm going to grab the shaker pouch and lay it down on my work surface. I'm then going to flip the panel over so that the adhesive is towards the shaker pouch, and I'm just going to line it up over top of that pouch, and it's going to fit perfectly into that window. And the score tape on the back is going to hold it in place so it doesn't go anywhere. So now we need to worry about the backing of our shaker pouch. So we need something that can close it up since we are going to be putting some filler inside. But I also need it to look like a snowy sky since it will be the back of the scene inside the snow globe. So what I like to do is take the little piece that we had from the center of the snow globe when we die cut it from the panel, and I just lay it against another piece of cardstock and cut around it and leave a little bit of a border. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it slightly bigger than the opening of the window where the snow globe was die cut, so that we can easily add this to the back of the shaker pouch and it will close everything in and give us a full backing for that scene. So for the background, I'm going to be doing this exactly the same as I did on the original card. Everything is going to be pretty much the same, except I'm just going to change up where I had the colors on the images, and you'll see that when we get to that part. So for the background, I'm using Seedless Preserves and Peacock Feathers Distress Ink. This has been a go-to color combination for me this year for winter-themed cards. I really like the mix of the purple and the blue in the background, which at first looks a little bit dark, but I always like to distress it with water, which is what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of flicking a bunch of water onto that little panel, using a paper towel to blot off the extra, and it leaves it with all this kind of like splotchy look in the background, which really enhances that look of snow. You can leave the panel like this if you want to leave that snow detail a little bit more on the subtle side, or you can do what I'm going to do here and add even more white snow with a white gel pen. You can do this a couple of ways. You can use white paint kind of mixed with water and just kind of splotch it all over top of your panel. This is a great way to add snow where it's really organic and it has a really opaque look to it. With a gel pen, it takes a little bit longer, but it's a little bit more controlled where you're putting all of those little dots of snow. And in this case, it's a little bit lighter in color, which is what I was going for. I didn't want the snow to be the focus on the card, so I wanted it to be there, but I wanted it to be kind of in the background. So I finished up adding all that dot detail, and I'm going to let that white gel pen dry. And now I'm just adding a few little snowflake stamps onto the front of the card. Since we are carrying the scene both outside and inside the snow globe, I really wanted to have a little bit of decorative stamping on the outside of the snow globe as well. So I'm just using a couple of snowflakes from that stamp set. I'm using Snow Cone and Grapesicle ink, which are really light aqua and purple inks, and they coordinate really nicely with our colored images as well as the background we created. Next up, we're going to add some snow hills to the front of the panel as well. So I have 2 pieces of cardstock here that I've die cut with the stitched Snowdrifts Dynamics. And this just adds a decorative edge on the top of the little cardstock panel, and it gives a little bit of faux stitching for some added detail. I'm going to use my glue here and add this onto the card front, and you can see that I'm not keeping it completely straight how it was die cut. I'm kind of angling it so it goes in the direction that I prefer, and then I'm just going to use my scissors and I'm going to trim off the extra around the edge. That's the first layer, so I'm going to go ahead and take the second one that I have die cut and I'm going to add that one on as well. And once again, I'm just going to use my tape runner and I'm going to add it to the back of this, get it positioned where I want it, and then just press down to adhere it in place. I'll trim off the extra, and now we have 2 snow hills on the outside of the panel, and we just need to add one to the background on the inside. I made sure to give the smaller panel time to dry since that gel pen is a little bit wet when you first apply it. And I'm just going to take another piece here that I've also die cut with the Stitch Snowdrifts. This is a little bit smaller since we don't need as large of a piece. And I'm just going to position this onto the little background piece here, and I'm going to press down to adhere it in place, and then just flip that over once again and trim off the extra around that little kind of arch shape that I have there. So now I have my inside of my snow globe ready to go. I have my outside panel ready to go. Now we can take all of our images and first do the inside of the snow globe and then finish off the card on the front. So like I mentioned, I thought it would be really cute to kind of switch the roles on this card and have the girl and the dog inside the snow globe and let the snowman be on the outside. So I'm just kind of moving around the pieces trying to figure out where I want to position them. I love that fence image, so I really wanted to include it in the inside of the snow globe. So I decided to put it on the right hand side of the scene and have the little dog overlap it. I'm just going to adhere everything on there with liquid glue now that I know exactly where I want it to go. I have the girl right in the front there. She's a lot larger than the snowman, so she was a little bit more tricky to kind of figure out where I wanted to put her to be able to see most of her in the snow globe. And I didn't want to kind of cut off any parts of her, so I just kind of moved stuff around until I got everything to work. And then once I was happy with the layout, I'm just using my glue now and gluing everything in place. I'm not using any foam adhesive on the inside of the snow globe since I am going to add shaker material. I don't want it to get in the way of anything that's kind of raised up off of the background. So I did adhere everything completely flat. And now you can see when we put the front over top of that little scene, everything fits really nicely inside that snow globe. So let's go ahead and fill the snow globe and adhere the backer on. When I add the filling to the snow globe piece, I like to have my adhesive already all the way around the shaker pouch, and I like to have the backing removed off of it. This just prevents me from kind of having everything go flying if I'm trying to remove the backing and it gets stuck. So this is just my preferred way, but you can do it either way. You can remove the adhesive before you add the filler or after. So I'm just using this little snow stuff here. I have this from last year. We had this as part of a card kit, but you can use anything you have on hand that looks like snow, whether it's white glitter, white sequins, pretty much anything that you want to add inside here. And then I'm going to flip my little piece over and I'm going to stick it down where I have that score tape. And now we have our completed snow globe. We have that shaker snow on the inside. And when you kind of shake it around, it looks like it's snowing on our little girl and our dog image. So now that we have the snow globe all created, it's time to work on the outside of the card. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp out my sentiment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp part of it on the base of the snow globe, which I've die cut from cement gray cardstock. And I have this little stamp set here and I've cut it in half since I want to use the sentiment in 2 different places on the card. You don't have to cut your stamp if you prefer not to. You could just mask off one side of it to be able to just stamp one side at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the Flurry of Fun onto the base of the snow globe. It just happens to fit on here perfectly, so I really liked how it looks stamped on there. I'm going to stamp it with Versamark ink and I'm going to heat emboss it with white embossing powder. I also stamped out the You Are A, which is the other part of the sentiment, onto another piece of cement gray cardstock and I die cut it with the Skinny Strips Dynamics. So now we have all the rest of the stuff ready to go. We can fully assemble the rest of the card. So the first thing I'm going to do is add this little banner piece to the top left corner. And I'm going to add that before I add this to the card base, just so I can trim off the little extra piece there. And then I'm going to press it down onto our blue raspberry card base. For the base of the snow globe, I used some foam adhesive to lift it off the card a bit since it's going right under that shaker pouch. And then to add the snowman, I decided to put one of them flat on the card, so I just adhered him on there and kind of bent his arm where it overlapped the shaker pouch. And then for the second guy here, I'm using foam adhesive, which I have double layered, so that he'll be raised off the card the same level as that pouch. Once I have him in place, I'm going to use some gray Copic markers to draw a little bit of a shadow underneath of him so it doesn't look like he's kind of floating in air. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of clear sparkle to both of the snowmen on their hat brim, on their scarf, and on the very top pom-pom on both of their toques. And then once I have that done, our second card is complete, and we have 2 cards which have the exact same card design, but we've changed a few of the elements to make them a little bit different. So we have this one here that we just created that has a fun take on a classic snow globe by having the girl and the dog on the inside and the snowman on the outside. And then we have the original one that we created that features the exact same stamped images minus one snowman, and everything is colored exactly the same, except I switched out the colors for the girl and the snowman on each of the cards. I hope today's video gave you some ideas on ways that you can use our classic snow globe dynamics as well as the shaker pouches to create really fun snow globe scenes both on the inside and on the outside of your card designs. If you are interested in any of the supplies that I used on my cards, they are linked in the video description below. As always, I appreciate you joining me for another video, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching.